Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. I'm back again with another Tower of God, and this time we're kicking off from the next region. We're kicking off with Team Sweet and Sour. Now, this is one of the most iconic teams in the entire story. If you ask me, this is the most tight-knit team from any team we introduced to. They hold the most amount of sentiment to any reader of the Tower of God, and if you haven't passed the 20th floor story, I am strongly suggesting that you get on it and start reading it, because this is going to be quite a heavy chapter. There's more backstory on this than anything else, so be very careful about what you hear from this point forward. Now, immediately after the test where Sweet and Sour is formed, the next thing that happens is we get a little glimpse of Kun Aguero Agnes. Kun Aguero Agnes is on the 25th floor. He's moving up and he decides he's going to recruit a new member for his team. Now, I will get back to this here when we get to the part which is very important for Kun. But that is who is introduced to us in that next chapter. He hears that there's a new slayer named Jovial Grace, and he was on par with the Ranker. So Kun asks which family is he from, and he says Mule. So we know that Love is from the Mule family. So Mule Love was the Ranker who tied with Balm. At this point, we get the whole idea that it isn't something spectacular because he wasn't that powerful of an individual. It's just a regular Ranker. And from this year, we now see that Kun is on the 24th floor. He's gathering another member for his team so they can make a climb up. At this point, he introduces himself to a man called Dan. Dan is the fastest scout on the floor. He's never been caught on an enemy lighthouse. So that's how fast he is in terms of movement. So when this year happens, Kun decides he wants to recruit him to his team because he's suffering with 20th floor syndrome. This year will all be explained later. I'm not going to go into Kun's team at this point. I'll explain it right before I explain the reunion or the tragedies that happen as soon as the next set of climbing happens. So at this point, they end up going through quite a bit. And anyway, Kun already figured out what was going on with Rachel. Back on the test floor, Lero Rowe had actually secretly brought a doctor in to heal Rachel's legs because remember, she's crippled as far as everybody knew. And when he did, he found out that her legs aren't really injured. The injury she suffered from the knife wound wasn't even bad enough to cripple her. It's all a lie, and if it's a lie from the medical staff on this floor, that means that somebody else is pulling the strings. And this is after the exam, the final exam, because Rachel passed out when she heard that Balm was dead, basically. I'm not sure whether she was pretending or whether it was for real, but nonetheless, that's what happens. At this point, he decides to tell only one other person, Shibisu, and he decides that after they climb for a little bit, he's going to distance the team from Rachel, allow them to go up faster, and he'll take Rachel with his own team that he devises, who will both be her protectors and her killers at any one point. So if she decides to betray them, they'll kill her in an instant so that what happened to Balm never happens again with the precious friends he's made on the test floor. So anyway, we're going back to Balm. Balm has now passed up to the next floor, the E-class regulars, and in the residential area, he buys a very good apartment and all of Sweet and Sour ends up living with Balm. They become like a family after a period of time. Hurang is like their big brother, teddy bear. Balm, although they were a little bit suspicious of him being a member of FUG, they find out that he's a very nice person. He's sweet and he's not as bad as he's made out to be. The rumors about him, they don't understand how they're propagating and what's going on about it, but they just leave it at that. And as time goes by, they get along with him more. They end up climbing up floors. Yuwa meets up with members of her family, and they warn her to be careful of the Slayer nominee who is climbing up the tower with a team of really evil teammates. And Yuwa acts all calm and collected about it. She's a very rare individual in her family. She's extremely powerful. And when she leaves, in her head she's saying, yeah, I'm one of those wicked teammates. And when she finally gets home, she sees that nobody's keeping an eye on Jovial Grace because he's a member of FUG, so she thinks it's quite dangerous to just leave him to do as he pleases. So she ends up stalking him and following him wherever he's going. She ends up secretly making a contract to track his pocket wherever he goes, so she can find him anytime he leaves. And finally, she moves towards him to go and catch him, and she sees there's this commotion in this karaoke club where people start screaming and running. Jovial Grace is here, but he just started walking in. He hasn't yet gotten in. And when he gets in, he ends up hitting this fake who's acting as Jovial Grace, who's giving all the bad name to Jovial Grace. And Yua gets in, and then she meets them, and she realizes it's a FUG member on the other side who's Harwan, whatever her real name is. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. We'll find out if they make season 2 of the anime. But nonetheless, this is where things get really complicated, because the next person to enter the room is Ginseng Ha, one of the high rankers from FUG. He is an unbelievably dangerous member of the Ha family, most likely in terms of high rankers, top 50. He is unbelievably powerful. He's more of a technician combat artist, so that's his role in fighting. Technician is another sort of position that I said I will explain when it comes in. Technicians are people who will design techniques to break through defenses or offenses of other regulars. Now, just saying that there, obviously, you understand that this is quite the situation. Yua is with this team for several reasons. Number one, Balm actually saved her in the previous test. I didn't mention this before, but she was possessed by a parasite because of trickery on the part of Lurker, and Balm actually stuck his fingers in her mouth and pulled out the parasite from her, and she has kind of a crush on him. It's a tsundere type situation, so she is very bashful about it, but she can't stand anybody making a move on Viol, as they call him, or Balm. By the way, Jovial Grace is really Balm's name. Now, we know that it's really his name for another reason. I'll explain it for you in a little bit as we talk about Ginseng Ha. So Ginseng Ha, as I said, is a technician. He's one of the old fighters in the tower. They're in this room, and Yua starts going crazy because it's 3 members of FUG in there, and Balm just hits her out cold with a single hit. And Ginseng Ha passes off the comment that he's a little bit brutal with the woman, and they carry her back to the apartment where they're going to talk further. So Ginseng Ha's whole purpose being here is to kill this entire team because they interfered with his slayer, who's basically like the person he's looking after at the moment. And when he sees this team and he talks to them and he gets to know them, he feels that they're just right for him. And he gets on the phone or the pocket with Mashaya Lazlak, one of FUG's slayers. Now, we don't know that his name is Mashaya Lazlak. We get the hint that his name is Mashaya right now, and we find out that Lazlak is his name later on because of Harwan when she speaks to him on her pocket. I'm going to go with Harwan for now. I might change the name in the next section. I'm just going to keep with it in this way. So what happens here is basically they talk with each other, and he says, no, you know what, I think they will be good with it, and Mashaya is definitely going to be fine with it because he wants what's good for Balm. And this is the first time that we get an instrumental piece of information that somebody's looking out for Balm within FUG, and we know that FUG is using him, but why would they be looking out for his well-being? It's not like they just want to use him. Mashaya Lazlak's full name is Grace Mashaya Lazlak, and the Grace in Viol's name comes from Grace Mashaya Lazlak, not his mother Arlene Grace. Now, I did mention the 13 companions because it was part of the reason for irregulars. Nonetheless, I'm going to have to explain one more thing. Lazlak was a part of the team who went up with the 13 warriors. He joined them on the 80th floor as far as we can tell, and this is all from the fandom, so don't take it as 100% lore, but we do know one thing for sure. He was a follower of one of the 13 warriors named V. Now, we don't know V's full name. It could be Viol, and Viol could be named after his father. We're not sure. But his greatest supporter was Lazlak. And Lazlak is so loyal to V that his loyalty has passed to his son. So trust me, he has someone really powerful looking out for him. It's really not so simple to touch Vio. No matter who you are, you can't just go and approach him, because there's a chance you're going to really anger Fug if you interfere with him. Now, it could be that Viol was looked at like the little brother for Mashaya. It could be that way. We'll find out later when we introduce to him. He is really someone spectacular as far as we can tell, being one of the slayers from the old days, from the time of the 10 great familiars in Jahad. We're not going to say the 13 warriors because there are 13 warriors, but that's how long ago he is from. When he says this here, it ends up giving this impression that things are okay and they're nice people. And Harwan explains, Baum is not a bad guy. He's actually being ransomed. We're ransoming his friends' lives for him to be our slayer. And this is where Wagner is like shocked, because these people seem like such nice people who he's talking to. And they reveal the situation that Baum isn't a bad guy at all. He's just a hostage. A hostage to Fug, because they're holding hostages for him to do as they say. Otherwise, they're going to kill the rest of his friends. And this inspires Wagner to fight even harder on every exam. And as they start climbing, they really start pushing hard. Jinsung Ha is staying with them for the time being, and they end up taking another exam not too long after. Now, I'm not sure on which floor this is, 22nd, 23rd, but one of the floors they end up taking an exam on, and the other team doesn't show up to the exam. So the ranker in charge of this exam, I'm not sure on his name, it's not even important. He ends up setting them up to go find a flower of a Zigna. And a Zigna is a massive divine fish or Shinsu fish or Shinwei that lives on this floor. I think it's the 22nd floor. Yeah, 22nd floor exam. And the whole idea of this is they must go inside the Zigna, find the flower, and bring it out. But they're hiding a lot of things. Number one, the reason why they want it is there's someone else inside the Zigna. Another ranker who's been slaughtering any other ranker who tries to take it away. He is inside and he is quite dangerous. That's all they do now. So they've sent tons of rankers in, and they've basically all been slaughtered trying to get the flower of Zigna. So they decide to throw in some rankers to see some regulars to see how he deals with them. Now, this ranker isn't just any ranker. This is Yurik freaking Mazzino, guys. Yurik Mazzino. Right? I'm gonna say it like that, and I really like saying it like that, because when I say his name, I want to be a punk. I want to take you to the next level, man. But anyway, getting back to it, that's who they run into, Yurik Mazzino. Now, he is unbelievably powerful. He is the number 1 active ranker in the tower, number 4 in the total rankings of the tower against every single individual in the tower, including Jahad, Pentaminum, and Ryu, all other irregulars as well. He is number 4. Puts him very high on that list and tells you just how dangerous he is of an individual. Now, he's the one who's killing everybody inside. And they sent these regulars to basically try and get something from him. So basically expect them to all die. This is also part because Jovial Grace is a Slayer candidate, so they most probably set him up to get killed. So they start running around inside the Zigna, because Zigna is a massive Shinwei. It's about the size of how would I put it? The size of a soccer stadium. Let's put it that way. That's how big it is inside it. And it's a habitual sunbather. It sunbathes for 2.5 hours a day, flipping every 30 minutes from side to side so that its skin gets the right color. So they jump inside, they start chasing after the Zigna in 2 separate teams, 4 to a side. And as they're running through, the first team with Wagnan, Miseng, Gowaseng, and Arc Raptor run into a Zigna, and they start chasing it around the Zigna. Now the baby Zigna has the flower on it because the flower feeds it nourishment from the jewel which is found in its center, which is why they really wanted it. The jewel is a very precious and rare jewel in the tower, and the only way to have it is if the Zigna eats all of the nutrients from that jewel and grows into a fully grown Zigna, then they can have more, but they don't want it to happen so they can control the supply and demand. It's mirroring things in real life, and that's something that I think you have to understand about the story. So the other team is obviously everybody else: Yua, Jovial Grace, Prince, and Hurang. They are the strongest four from the team, so they are basically put together to do all of this as a single unit. And when they first jump in, the Zigna ends up flipping and they end up getting all disorientated and split up, and then they end up getting back inside the Zigna and they go out on their quest as they were supposed to. Now Jovial Grace is with Yua because he waited for her so that he can take her in with them, and Prince and Hurang end up going together to the next part of this entire situation. They keep walking on into the Zigna looking for the flower of Zigna. At this point, Hurang and Prince end up running into parasites from the Zigna, and then they realize these parasites aren't coming to attack them, they're running from something. They need to get out of here quickly. At this point, a whole lot of parasites fall at their feet, and sitting on top of it is an unknown figure with a cap on his head. And he tells them, if you even think of moving, you'll die. Now they don't know what to do, so they just stand still, and finally they find out that he's there holding the Zigna. He's not going to let it go because he's looking after the Zigna. He's just waiting for the right time to leave. And all of this is going on. It's chaotic. It's quite a bit of inconvenience. And remember, there's now two Zignas running around in the body. So they end up talking all of this, and after a few seconds, Viol notices this threatening aura and he runs in. Now, as I said, Viol's team is being held hostage. If he fails an exam, a hostage dies. And they're tracking them with a graduation ring that was given to them on the second floor. So they'll kill them one by one till every one of them is dead if Viol doesn't do as they say. So he runs in and he sees Yurik Mazzino, and Yurik Mazzino tells him, you should go away and give up this exam, because other than that you're going to die. And Viol says, that's not to worry, I fear something greater than death. And at this point he's like, okay, cool, let's give this here a countdown, let's have our fight, because the Zigna is about to flip. And he says, right, so here's how it goes. If you can catch that Zigna before me, you can keep it, and we're just waiting for the Zigna to flip. So as it counts down, his timing, Team Sweet and Sour get into position to trap Yurik Mazzino, but they don't know it's Yurik Mazzino just yet. And at the same time, Miseng is actually crawling through a very small vessel inside this body, chasing that baby Zigna that they were following. Now there's two of them in the body at the moment. And at this moment when he turns, the countdown hits 0 and they go at it. Yurik Mazzino does his flaming Death Emperor's punch, or Scorch King Supreme Death Punch, and Jovial Grace uses Floral Butterfly Piercing technique. So as you can see, he's using the technique that he learned from Fug because it's a really powerful technique. And as they collide, all of a sudden the flip is happening, and Misang ends up in the line where she might get hit by Yurik's attack. And instantly, without even thinking for a second, Balm's good nature kicks in as he takes the attack head on to protect his teammate. And as all of this happens, everybody falls to the bottom, and Yurik is like, give this to your friend and tell him this is for saving his teammate, for having the guts to fight me and showing courage greater than anybody else. And as he's walking away, they read the back of his they read on his back where his name is tattooed with the wing tree symbol below it, and on the top it says Mazzino. and they're like, oh my god, we just met the strongest guy in the tower, because technically speaking he is the strongest right now. Between the top four, none of them have ever met each other, so if they fight each other it will be a total chaotic situation to see who wins. Obviously Phantaminum is Axis, so there's no way they can really beat him. Now with all of this going on, we get this whole idea of how crazy things are, and they're busy talking to each other, and they're having this whole situation. I'm getting a bit lost in how I'm explaining it. Yurik gives them one of the Zignas because of Viol's act of bravery. He takes the other one, and it's time for him to leave because his lift is coming. And he floats up to the top of the Zigna, where he sees the rankers who set up the exam, and they basically they're like, oh my god, here's Yurik, he got a Zigna in his hand. Let's kill him and take the Zigna away. At this point he says, no, I'm taking the Zigna with me. I'm going to raise it up, and in a few hundred years I'm going to make sure that there's tons of Zigna, so this flower is no longer as rare as it once was, but its beauty will never diminish, and at least the Zigna won't be endangered anymore. The rankers try to attack him, and he instantly kicks them all out like it's a joke, and he tells them, this was unfair. If you wanted to be fair, you should have at least brought 1,000 so I can at least brag about the situation. Like this, it's just too embarrassing to say that I fought 3 rankers at the same time. And this guy is like, who in the world are you? And when he turns around, he's like, I printed my name, I tattooed my name on my back so that people could see who I am. If you have a problem with me, come find me. And he reads it, Mazzino. Team Sweet and Sour ends up passing the exam because they have the flower of Zigna with the Zigna that they bring out. The test is concluded, but Viol is in a really bad state. Remember, he just took an attack from somebody who's so ridiculously powerful it's not even funny. And if you counted regular rankers, as he said, is equal to 10,000 of them, 1,000 of them at once would be just enough for him to brag about it. If I had to estimate, I'd say he could take on several whole armies or squadrons worth of rankers at a single point. That is Yurik freaking Mazzino, man. Yurik freaking Mazzino. So yeah, that's how it ends, and I'll catch you all in the next one when the story really amps up. So see you all then. Have a good day.